各位观众大家好，欢迎收看智门 Smart Gate 我是黄齐元。我们这个年底Christmas 刚刚过 Merry Christmas， 我要做一个非常特别的专题。最近碰到了一位朋友，他是一位南美洲派驻在台湾的代表。南美洲大家平常比较知道的是巴西、阿根廷等等，你可能也听过秘鲁。不过我今天要讲的呢，都不是这些国家。我今天要讲的是一个很神秘的国家，也很特别。几个礼拜前在 Christmas Party 的时候碰到他在台湾的代表，我才知道他们在台湾有这个分支机构，而且他对台湾非常的了解。这是他第二次在台湾，他在台湾已经4年的时间。之前他在台湾的政治大学也念了一个国际的博士学位。他就是智利驻台经济办事处的代表 Mr. Fernando Schmidt。Mr. Schmidt, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this invitation. It's my pleasure to be here in SmartGate and to share a little bit more about Chile.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself. I know when you talk with me, 9 years. 9 years is really a long time. 4 years this time, and then prior to that, you studied in Taiwan for 5 years. So probably talk a little bit about yourself. What brought you to Taiwan in the first place, to come here to study. And now you, I guess, as a diplomat, what's your purpose and mission here?
So let me tell you a little bit about me. I've been, as you mentioned, in Taiwan for 9 years, but not straight. I came to do my PhD while working as a researcher for a Chilean university in 2010. I did my PhD in National Chengchi University. I finished my course and I returned to Chile after that.
That course was in political science?
Exactly. It was in East Asian studies, but focused on political economy. So while working there, I was also working as deputy for the Chilean trade office here. So I've been with this office for 9 years in total as well. And that was a very enriching experience. It wasn't in my plans at first. I didn't plan to come to Taiwan. It appeared out of the blue, and it was a life-changing experience that I do not regret. I actually embraced. I believe that as we were discussing before we started, the relationship between Chile and Taiwan is suboptimal, and it requires more connections. It requires more building up. And to be a part of that building up, it's really a privilege for me. And I've been privileged to live in Taiwan for such a long period of time. Again, not straight. I went back to Chile after my PhD. I worked in academia for about a year, and then I jumped into the APEC team. As you know, Chile hosted APEC in 2019.
That's right.
So I was part of the SOM Chair's office during that whole year. And after that, I moved back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the trade promotion section called Pro-Chile, which is where I am now. I worked as head of Asia Pacific and then in charge of the Expo Osaka. In 2020, it was supposed to be in 2020. It was hosted in 2021 due to the pandemic. And after launching the Expo Osaka project, I was elected to come here as Trade Commissioner for Chile.
Yeah, you have a superb qualification. Nobody could be more relevant, with experience-wise than yourself. The question I want to ask you, actually, I had that question before. You mentioned about APEC. And it always in my mind, why Chile has anything to do with APEC, Asia Pacific, but why a South American country? I don't know whether Chile is the only country in South America or there are others joining the APEC community.
So back in the 90s, there were two concepts of Asia Pacific. One is the one that restricts Asia Pacific to the Asian part of the Pacific. Right. The other concept, which was pushed forward by the United States, is to include the other side of the Pacific as well. And in APEC today, you have Peru, Chile, Mexico, US, and Canada all on the other side of the Pacific, but participating in APEC.
Okay, so you are not the only one. Peru, APEC, the United States.
It covers the whole Pacific basin, not only the Asian part of the Pacific. It's the whole Pacific Ocean. APEC was thought originally about connecting both sides of the Pacific.
Both sides of the Pacific. Yeah. Sorry, we were always narrow-minded. We always, probably Taiwan is maybe in recent years, not that international. Although I personally had an international experience, but we always thought about Asia only, this part of the Asia Pacific region. But we forgot about the other side.
Well, there's been a lot of connection between South America and Taiwan, but not as much as there should be. And as you correctly mentioned, the focus here seems to have been strongly on East Asia. To the north, Japan and Korea, and now with the southbound policy to Southeast Asia. And of course, India is also acting as a key player here.
Yeah, so today we're gonna, if you don't mind, start from a lesson ABC. So we are primary school at the kindergarten level, including myself and the audience. So help us to understand about Chile. We understand it is a country located in the very southern part of South America. You are border with Peru and maybe Brazil or somebody else. So help us to understand the background of your country, what you have in particular agriculture or mining or green energy and so on?
Chile, we usually say to ourselves that we're at the end of the world, which is a good description once you have to take a flight for over 30 hours to get there. We're a small country located in the southernmost part of South America.
Yeah, the most southern part.
Most southern, yes.
But what about Argentina?
If you look at the figure, the Chile at the end makes a corner like this. So we are a little bit further south than Argentina.
Oh, so yeah, even further south.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Okay.
I mean, we also cover further north because we're the longest country from north to south in the world.
How many?
It's over 6,000 kilometers.
6,000 kilometers. Unbelievable.
It's a huge country with amazing contrast. We have the driest desert in the world in the northern part, the Atacama Desert. Then you have the central plains where most of our agricultural production is coming from. Then you have the rainforest in the south, and then you have the far south covering Patagonia, right? So the lowlands of the far south. And then we also have claim to a portion of Antarctica and Easter Island in the Pacific, which a lot of people don't realize that Easter Island is actually part of Chile. A lot of Taiwanese know about the Moai. They know about Easter Island as this paradise-like island that everybody wants to visit, but there are limited flights going in and out because the island is not too big. But it's actually part of Chile. So we do have Polynesian culture within Chile as well, which connects us to the Austronesian culture of Taiwan. We know that the Austronesians actually came from Taiwan, moved to the South Pacific, and the further west that they went is actually Easter Island.
So you mean there many years ago there are some ethnic origin between Taiwan and
Easter Island, which is part of Chile.
Oh wow! And what are countries are your neighbors? You are neighboring with, I guess, a lot of countries.
We border with 3 countries, with Argentina to the east, Peru to the north, and Bolivia to the northeast as well.
What's the total population of Chile?
Chile is a country of 19.5 million people, not too far from Taiwan. The difference is that we are heavily concentrated in the central area. As I was mentioning before, the north is a desert, so there aren't too many big cities there. And the south also is not heavily populated. We have one large city in the south called Concepcion, about 1 million people. But Santiago is a city of 7 to 8 million people if you take the greater Santiago. So out of the 19 million people, 8 live in the central area, and the central port, which is Valparaíso of Viña del Mar, add another 2 million. So you already have 10 million in the core central area of Chile. So even though it's a huge country, most of the population is concentrated in Santiago, which is where most economic activity actually happens in terms of services. If you look at the mining, which is huge for us, it's concentrated on the north. And then if you look at the agriculture, it's from the central to the south. So every part of Chile is different, economically active. They provide different source and different flavor of what we bring in economic activity. You don't feel like you're in the same country when you travel from Iquique in the north to, Los Angeles or Puerto Varas in the south.
What about tourism? I know there are some places in Peru, the
Machu Picchu or...
Yeah. Are there similar tourist spots in Chile?
We have actually earned the award 7 years in a row for the best adventure tourism destination. So Chile, in terms of tourism, is not really about culture. There is culture, of course, but when the Spaniards came to Chile, it was highly unpopulated. Unlike Peru, which had the Inca Empire, we didn't have the Inca Empire except for some part of the north.
Yeah, Inca Empire. People always had that mysterious image about
exactly.
And then that empire disappeared for whatever reasons.
And so in Chile, what you find is amazing landscapes. It's all about adventure tourism. It's about connecting with nature. It's about witnessing nature that you will not find anywhere else in the planet. And that's the amazing part of Chile. You really fall in love with the nature that you will feel in Chile because since the country is heavily unpopulated, you are able to enjoy nature to yourself.
Right. And how do we from Taiwan, if we want to get to Chile, transit from where to where?
The fastest way is from Taipei to LA and LA to Santiago.
How many hours from LA to San Diego?
12 and 12.
12 in total.
So 24 in total. Wow. It's not too bad. Once you get there, it's really worth it.
And I guess now it's summer in Chile, right?
Yes. We usually spend Christmas in the swimming pool. It's not a white Christmas for us.
What's the temperature there, for example, right now?
Well, now they're announcing 36 for this week.
36?
Yes.
That's very hot.
Very hot. The temperature has been rising in Chile as well as in many parts of the world. And we are also seeing some more frequency of natural disasters. The one that hits us the hardest is the bushfires or wildfires, especially during the summer. So this is a contingency which, like Australia, like California, we have to deal with every year.
Does Taiwan government have an office or representative office there in Chile?
Yes, they do.
Okay, in San Diego.
In Santiago, yeah.
Okay, Santiago. And then are there any Taiwanese citizen or immigrants there? A few?
Yes, there are actually, I may be mistaken on the total figure, but I understand it's about 3,000 to 4,000.
Wow, that's a lot.
A lot of Taiwanese migrated to the north of Chile, to the free economic zone of Iquique in the 80s and 90s. And then after second or third generation, they moved to Santiago. So now the highest Taiwanese population is actually in Santiago, but there's still a big group in Iquique in the north.
I've been trying to do a little bit of homework about Chile. Latest, I read, actually, you're on the news, December, about the government, the Chile changing government, and there's a right-hand extremist presidential candidate, Jose Antonio Cast, won the presidential election to be a candidate on the left in Jeanette Jara. Please tell us about political scene at the Chile left and right over the, is it stable or is it changing?
Chile is a very Republican country, and I think those characteristics like extreme right or extreme left do not really account for the reality. I mean, every candidate in Chile actually was very measured on their approach. The differences between them, of course, are vast in terms of policy approach, but there's 100% respect for institutions. Chile has gone through several transitions since the 1990s, from right to left, always staying within the constitutional framework. And that's why the press starts calling either far right or far left. You get this sense of extremism of people that want to break with the traditional institutions. That's not what's going on in Chile. Chile is very respectful of the institutions. We have a very solid constitutional framework, which was actually legitimized a couple of times in the past years. Through constitutional referendums. And it was amazing to see on the election night, the president called the president-elect, even one of them is from the left, the other one's from the right. They had a call, they talked about what's best for Chile. Jeanette Jara, the runner-up in the elections, also went to congratulate Jose Antonio Cast on his election. On the next day, he was on the presidential palace, which is the same thing that happened when President Piñera handed over to our current president, Gabriel Boric.
So your current president is left or right? Or
left.
Left, okay. And Jeanette Jara is also left.
Also left. She was a minister for our current president, Boric.
Yeah, and what do you think the main reason that this candidate, Mr. Cast, Jose Cast, won in the end? Is it because of some immigration or other issues that propel his winning in the end?
There is a growing discontent in Chile with the security situation. And if you look at the proposals from both candidates, Jeanette Jara and Jose Antonio Cast, their main concern was security. Because Chile used to be a very secure country. We used to be a country where you could walk freely at night, similar to Taiwan, and nothing would happen, right?
But what happened since then?
Well, the security situation has taken a turn for the worst in the past 6 to 7 years. And
are you allowed to have guns?
You're not allowed to have guns.
Okay.
Yes.
But when you say security, are they against us or are they?
Chile didn't have organized crime before, and now we do. So that's what changed the situation for worse. Now, if you compare it to the rest of Latin America, we're still on a safe spot. But the situation for the average Chilean is taking a turn for the worse.
For Taiwan and Chile, in the past, you see the common interaction in terms of trading, in terms of investment. What have Taiwan and Chile had in the last 30 years?
Sure. So let me talk about Chile and Taiwan first, and then Taiwan and Chile. My mission here, my core mission, is to discuss what we don't have, where we should be going. So what people in Taiwan usually know about Chile is about our agricultural products, about apples, fresh fruits in general. Then you have the seafood, salmon, sea urchin, giant squid, king crab. And then you also have the forestry products, mostly wood pulp, and of course the wine, which is very well known all over the world. That's the basic basket of exports, plus copper, which is actually the biggest item. People don't necessarily realize that copper is coming mostly from Chile. Australia has been increasing. I think Australia is now the largest supplier of copper in Taiwan. But Chile and Australia are always there as first.
You reminded me, the wine. Yes, the Chile wine. On the wine list, there's in addition to from France, from Australia, and there's always some Chilean wine.
Exactly. So that's the basket that we have today. It's roughly 1.2 to 1.5 billion of exports every year, which is it's a very important amount.
To Taiwan only? To
Taiwan only, yes. Okay. So Taiwan in our export list is usually ranked between 10th and 15th. That's usually the ranking. So it's a very important trade partner for us. It used to be the fourth largest in Asia. I think now it's dropped to fifth because India took that spot, but it's still up there fighting that important position. Now, what we don't have and where we are not being seen for, it's innovation, green hydrogen, and of course, new sectors like AI, where we believe the potential for engagement is much higher than what we have right now. And that's the core of my mission here. It's not to only promote what we do
have. The past, but to really develop the future.
Exactly. Which these are industries that are core to both Chile and Taiwan. And I believe that the area, the room for exploration of further business there, it's massive. And
So please tell us about that. Innovation is very much a core part in my business as well. Of course, I'm an investment banker for nearly 40 years, but I also serve a role very deeply related with innovation and startup. I'm a director of Taiwan's largest technology association called Monty J Technology Association. I chair the Innovation and Startup Committee. And then I'm also founding chairman of Taiwan Mergers, Acquisition and Private Equity Council. It was established in 2009. And now, although I pass responsibility to others, I still chair the Innovation and Startup Committee. So we are very much related with innovation. And the FCC partners, our ecosystem, we have a subsidiary called Cardinal Ren. We probably manage about 4 incubators, accelerators in Taiwan, 2 in the New Taipei City, 1 in Taoyuan, another with Uni President Group. They have a subsidiary called President Information System that's fairly strong in Philippines. So we jointly manage their incubators as well. So tell us about, have you been trying to promote innovation, AI, the sort of a collaboration between Chile and Taiwan in the last 4 years?
Let me go back a little bit before that, because Chile's startup ecosystem started developing in 2010 when the government created government-led talent attraction program called Startup Chile, which was a pioneer in the world. It was actually featured in The Economist for being a startup nation concept, right? And so we started attracting talent to Chile in 2010. It's been 15 years already. And that program, Startup Chile, was the kicking point, the starting point for the ecosystem that started growing and developing. Now we have hundreds of accelerators, incubators, and thousands of startups. Only through Startup Chile, we have over 6,000 founders that have been through. But then you have the private sector accelerators and whole ecosystem that it's very robust and very massive. I was actually in Chile about a month ago in South America's largest innovation fair called ETM, where over 50,000 people gathered. So it's amazing.
Where was it held?
In Santiago. So it's amazing to see how the ecosystem developed. And now that ecosystem is mature and it's scaling. And our startups naturally look at Latin American markets as the first alternative. So they go to Argentina, they go to Peru, they go to Colombia, they go to Mexico. And now they're massively going into the US, mostly through Miami, but also through New York and Silicon Valley. And it's come to a point where they're looking east and west. They're looking to Asia and they're looking to Europe. This is their next frontier of expansion. And these startups are actually landing in Taiwan, and they're witnessing in Taiwan the possibility of establishing here as a hub for the rest of East Asia. Taiwan has developed a massive and really strong ecosystem with very limited language barriers. Most of the ecosystem actually works in English. They have also strong talent attraction programs, easy immigration programs, and the capital is flowing to the startup. You have the VCs and the CVCs always looking for opportunities to invest. And that's, besides the angel investors, of course, that's very attractive for a continent and a country in particular like Chile that are usually cash-strapped. Our main problem is not creativity, it's not the development of ideas, it's not technology. It's usually cash flow. And that cash flow in Taiwan is something that they can actually be attracted to, besides the possibility of working with big corporates in Taiwan to prototype and to enter into those supply chains to expand automatically to the rest of the world.
Right. And help me to understand what type of industry or these startups belong to, because I guess AI or robotics or semiconductor, these are still relatively new concepts. So what particular, are they in fintech, or are they in social enterprise, or are they in, I don't know, new energy? What particular industry do these startups belong to?
So there's not one particular industry. There are several in which Chile has been very strongly accepted in all of Latin America and the US. I would say biotech is one of the biggest ones. Then you have fintech, but we know that fintech is very hard to, the Taiwanese market seems to be very, and you can correct me here if I'm wrong, but my impression is that this is not easily adaptable.
Right, they're heavily regulated. It's always overprotection of a consumer, of investors, not open or flexible enough with an open mindset. The regulators. It is changing though, but still, I agree with you.
So it's for fintech. We haven't seen an interest on the fintech sector from Chile in Taiwan yet, but we hope to see that in the future. For biotech, it's been very strong. For AI video surveillance has been very strong. Agtech, which in Chile is also a very strong sector. We are large agricultural producers, and even though we know that Taiwan is not a large agricultural production powerhouse, it is a good testing lab from which to go with added technology to other markets in East Asia. So it's also a good place to settle. And then we have the case of a startup, which is not representative of the Chilean market, but they produce quantum software, which they sold to TSMC. So you do have a case in particular of a technology developed in Chile, which can be applied by TSMC in the latest process that they're developing.
How many Chilean students like yourself 9 years ago were here in Taiwan studying, if you know the figure number?
I don't have the exact figure, but it's usually about 5 per year, more or less. About 3 are language students. The other 2 are either postgrad or PhD students.
Okay.
So it's a very limited figure. We don't have a lot of students coming or going. The same goes the other way. The distance is still very large for students. Of course, the cost for a student of going abroad to Taiwan or Asia in general, it's not easy.
Understood. Talking about your responsibility, innovation, ecosystem, startup, nurturing, connecting with AI and other frontier technologies from Taiwan, what do you see the prospect, the potential, or what have been the successful cases, if any? So can you share with us? Because I want to explore in what areas that I can mobilize my or our resources from our end to connect with your strengths or your resources from the other end.
Perfect. So as I was mentioning, this quantum software company, which is working with TSMC, is a very specific case, because also in the case of their development, globally, they have 3 to 4 customers. So it's a very targeted startup. But besides that one, we have seen in startups that have an ESG component, which is heavily developed in Chile and Latin America, they are being accepted in Taiwan. And another case, for example, is an AI video surveillance software for birds, for identifying and repelling birds, which is applied in airports. It's applied in wind farms, which Taiwan is heavily investing on.
Yes.
And any area where birds can actually get damaged, and the government will ask for an ESG report, and they have to monitor how many birds they're damaging. And so this Chilean startup actually developed a software that can be easily deployed, and it's a mobile camera with an AI recognition and repelling system where you can install it, let's say, in a turbine itself, and it will repel any bird that's identified to come into a crashing direction with the turbine itself. So.
Yeah. Have you organized some events or exhibitions or presentations between Chilean startups, maybe not just one, maybe a group, either online or visiting Taiwan? Are there any these kind of activities held in the past, or the other way around, Taiwanese company going to South America, either physically or online?
We have organized webinars, which have a large audience. For startups coming into Taiwan, the number has been limited, let's say 4 to 5 per year, and they come either with a soft landing program for a Taiwanese accelerator, Garage Plus or Startup Terrace or AppWorks, and you name it, the ecosystem is huge. But the volume is still limited. The Chilean startups are still mainly looking at Latin America and the US. So the number of startups that are looking to East Asia is still limited. We don't have the volume yet, but we're building up. We see the number of startups increasing year after year, to the point that as ProChile, my institution, we're launching this coming year, 2026, a program called ProChile Global X, which is a program we already have for Europe.
ProChile Global X.
Yes, which calls Chilean startups 10 to 12 per year. And we do soft landing at different markets. We're going to do it in East Asia. We're already doing it in Europe. And we build a web of mentors for these startups. We prepare them, and then we take them to the market. And the starting markets that we're looking at for next year, it's Taipei, Delhi, Beijing, and Tokyo.
We'd love to collaborate with you in the Taipei event. We'd love to explore. So what could be the format? It could be, is it a 4 or 5 Chilean startup physically coming to Taipei, or is it an online webinar, or is it a focus on one particular industry sector, or a combination, all of the above?
So we're going to look for startups that match the market. So for example, aquaculture, there are a lot of aquaculture related startups in Chile, but they don't have a match in Taiwan. Even though Taiwan does have some aquaculture industry, it's an industry that's not really adapting to new technologies. So there's a huge gap. At the same time, if we do have some semiconductor related startups, they're probably very nascent, so they're not ready for the market. So we're going to look for those that have a market fit that can actually engage in Taiwan. And we're looking to bring physically 4 to 5 and do either a pitch session or a demo day with them in person.
Agri-tech actually is one area I have some experience. One of the biggest deal that I have done, and it's a private equity deal, $400 million US. I did that in 2018. It's a company making the feed for the shrimp feed in Taiwan. I brought in a European private equity Primera to invest 400 million euro for 50% of the stake. But the company is aquaculture, related agriculture, aquaculture, the shrimp. Talking with regard to because there are so many agricultural products, from Chile, there must be way, I guess, penetrating through this part of the world, the market, either from a distribution point of view or from, I don't know, maybe there are some agri-tech we can think about. Maybe I can identify a Taiwanese party. I do have quite a few food and beverage companies in this sector. You probably explore, Uni President and Ding Yi, the Mastercon, these companies in the space. So I'm just exploring.
That'll be amazing.
Do you think that culture-wise, I know you like about Taiwan and the things that you feel struggling still adapting to Taiwan?
My impression is that it's very easy to adapt to Taiwan. I mean, Taiwan is a very welcoming country, and I've never faced a cultural shock. The only thing that's hard to adapt to is weather, but the weather is something that comes with nature. I mean, that can't be changed.
What is hard to adapt?
Too hot, too humid, and in Taipei in particular, it's too cloudy during the winter. It feels too gray. The light goes out too early. So that's, of course, not easy to adapt, but you get by. Everything else, the services work amazingly. There's a culture of immediacy here. Everything gets solved very quickly. People are extremely friendly. You have a very horizontal society where connections happen very quickly. It's not too hierarchical, like, for example, what you see in Japan or Korea. We're getting to a top CEO. It's really, really hard. It's impossible. Their agenda is blocked. There are so many barriers to get there. So conversations in that horizontal society actually flow much faster, which is similar to Chile. In Chile, you have some similar sense of a horizontal society where once you get into the network, the doors open automatically. And that facilitates business, that facilitates connections. And I believe that's one of the reasons, culturally speaking, why Taiwan is doing so good for itself. Because by fostering a strong and open network, you foster competition. And if you foster competition, you at the same time foster innovation, you foster productivity, you foster engagement. And there is a whole change of a positive cycle that comes with it.
Yeah, putting weather aside, what from a cultural perspective and a social perspective, what are the areas that you personally feel that there's some room for improvement for Taiwan?
Honestly, it's hard to think of one. I mean, at least coming from Latin America, the first thing that strikes you here is that everything works very easily and very perfectly. And so it's hard to think of aspects culturally that could be improved. It's not easy. I mean, even if you look at the language barrier, there is a language barrier. That's inevitable. But Taiwan has a strong policy of bilingual by 2030, which is, of course, it's in the wish list. It's been watered down a little bit over the years, but it's still an impressive effort to see how many schools have actually turned into bilingual schools. So you think about the workforce that's coming for the next 10 or 20 years. And I assume 90% of that workforce is going to be strongly bilingual. So even considering things like language, for example, I see the steps are being taken in the direction of breaking that existing barrier.
Right. What are the common language? I guess Spanish, or there are local language. How many languages in Chile?
Only Spanish.
Only Spanish, okay. And then the population, are there 2 or 3 groups, or it's just one?
No, we have indigenous groups, the Mapuche being the most populous, but there are several from the north and from the south, which are recognized by the state of Chile. And of course, they are heavily integrated into society these days. So It's hard to distinguish. I mean, 99% of the Chilean society is mixed. These indigenous groups depend on whether you identify yourself as one. So it's about self-definition of each person, and we're free to define
and then
ourselves.
the population-wise, I mean, the ethnic origin, Chilean, people from Peru or Brazil, and Argentina, are they all very similar or very different?
They're very different. They're very different for several reasons. As I mentioned earlier, when the Spaniards went into Chile, there was very limited population. Different in Peru. When the Spaniards went into Peru, the Inca Empire was there, so there was a strong institutionally established population in Peru. So the relationship between the Spanish colonizers and the ethnic population was very different than the one in Chile. Most of Chile was unpopulated. So it became about how to beat nature rather than how to settle with the local populations, which were mostly to the south of Chile. And it's similar in Argentina, but the difference is that the migration in Argentina was heavily Italian, so from different parts of Europe, but Italians had a very relevant role in Argentina that they didn't have in Chile. So every country has a different story. And
what about Brazil?
They speak Portuguese because Brazil was, when they separated politically between the Spanish and the Portuguese Empire, Portugal kept Brazil. So that's why they have a different language. And the population of Brazil, it's ethnically very different from that of Argentina, Chile, Peru, or Bolivia.
Okay. Which foreign country biggest investor in Chile, Japan or other country?
Japan and the US.
Japan and the US. And what do they invest mostly?
Mining, energy, aquaculture, food sector, and lithium.
I want to talk a little bit about mining, because in our last conversation, we talked about green energy. You seem to suggest that green hydrogen or something, that seems to be one area that you have some relative strength. So perhaps they can share a little bit more with us.
So there's a clear connection between Taiwan, or potential connection between Taiwan and Chile when it comes to green hydrogen. Taiwan has the policy of turning net zero by 2050. And if you look at the policy, it says that 9 to 12% of the energy usage is going to come, or has to come, from green hydrogen. To produce green hydrogen, you need excess green energy. Otherwise, it's inefficient to produce hydrogen. You can just electrify with wind or solar or other renewable. In the case of Chile, we early invested massively on renewables. Why? Because on the north, on the desert, we have the highest radiation on the world, and it's unpopulated, so it's very easy to set up solar panels and then transmit that energy to the mining sector, and then further south to the capital.
So renewable energy is relatively big. What's the percentage?
67% this year.
67% out
of the total consumption.
Renewable energy.
And that means that we're actually curtailing a lot of renewable energy. Because the renewable energy we produce during the day, but during the night, I mean, the production level decreases. So the other thermoelectricals actually kick in to support the system. But we are actually curtailing a lot of energy, renewable energy these days, that the plan is to turn that into green hydrogen, because all the resources required for a green hydrogen plant in Chile are actually there. What you need is green energy, lots of it, and we have that, and you need land, and we have a lot of available land. That's why thinking about those two key elements is going to be very hard for Taiwan to produce a lot of green hydrogen. Taiwan has electrolyzer capabilities, Taiwan has distribution capabilities, Taiwan has the pipelines, but to get enough green energy to power the electrolyzers to produce the green hydrogen, it's ineffective. Since we are curtailing a lot of green energy, our mission is to put that green energy to use connected to the green hydrogen plants, and then turn that into a liquefied, exportable product that can be sent to different parts of the world, mostly to East Asia, Japan, Korea,
Have
Taiwan,
you been already doing that?
We have a lot of projects under development. We have some pilot projects already working. But the demand for hydrogen these days is still not mature enough. So we need for that demand for hydrogen to start growing. Taiwan recently launched the first hydrogen refueling station in Tainan, if I'm not mistaken. And that's a good step towards the establishment of a hydrogen economy, or a green hydrogen economy. Taiwan has the supply chain built up. Taiwan has fuel cells, Taiwan has the pipelines, Taiwan has all the metals and infrastructure required for the green hydrogen economy, but it doesn't have the green hydrogen. So that's the challenge. Chile, on the other side, we are able to produce that green hydrogen, and by projections by McKinsey, we should be the cheapest green hydrogen producers by 2030 at $1.5 per kilo. Those are the projections. So that's the cheapest green hydrogen in the world.
Even you compare with like Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, Australia, Emirates, those are going to be the main competitors for us. But comparing to them, according to McKinsey, as well as a Japanese think tank that did the research, Chile is going to be the cheapest one. So that means a huge potential for energy engagement that we don't have now. And this is a blue ocean, a new market.
Who are developing that? Is a local energy conglomerate or they're foreign investors?
Mostly foreign, mostly Europeans, but there are some. The most advanced one is actually a Chilean company called HIF, Highly Innovative Fuels, which is a global company now, but they started with the Haruano project to produce e-fuels, which they sell to Porsche, and Porsche uses in Europe. So Porsche and Siemens are actually investors in this project as well.
Right, and then you say the 67% the power are from renewable energy. What about the rest, the 33%?
Either gas, oil, or hydro.
Okay, it's amazing. I didn't realize Taiwan, we are struggling. The renewable energy government's objective is by 2026, it should be 20%, but now we are just hovering around 10% or 12%. And then solar recently, had a lot of setbacks, and the offshore wind also had various problems. So Taiwan, despite its success in semiconductor AI, but we need energy. Without energy, no data center, no AI. So we are constrained by that. What about the area Taiwan is good at? AI, semiconductor. Does Chile has, I'm sure you do, have any aspiration wanting to be closer to Taiwan or to learn from Taiwan or to cooperate with Taiwan?
I'm glad you mentioned it because that's also a key area of engagement, and it's data centers, where we are not exploring at the moment. Chile has a strong policy for the building of data centers. We have the energy to curtail a large part of it, so that part is solved. We have some struggles with water, but the new cooling solutions actually diminish the amount of water. And Chile is a services hub in South America. So that's why we have the strongest level of data centers right now in South America established, bringing services over to Argentina. But we need more. The AI revolution is going faster
where are
than
these in Santiago?
Mostly in Santiago or around Santiago.
Who operate these data centers?
The largest American companies, AWS and the likes. That's the issue. I mean, Taiwanese companies build data centers. They build AI infrastructure, but the operators are usually other companies, not necessarily Taiwanese companies. So there is huge potential for partnership between Taiwan, the third country, likely the US, and Chile in order to bring data centers, because the government has plans to subsidize data centers. There's plans to expand the coverage, and we are connected with the rest of South America, so we can provide the cloud services and data center services from Chile to other countries.
So Taiwan can provide some data center AI infrastructure technology. Chile, you have the renewable energy. And then you also mentioned about the third country.
Well, somebody has to operate the data center.
Right? Yeah, so, like American
exactly.
CSP, cloud service provider, and so on. And have you seen some Taiwanese involvement in this direction yet?
Not yet. And that is something that I'm very much looking forward to push for by communicating first and foremost.
I would certainly love to explore more. Perhaps we can have a seminar or something talking about how the strengths of Taiwan in AI infrastructure, and then together with your strengths in renewable energy, in green energy, green hydrogen can be combined to apply into the data center area.
That would be amazing.
And then you say Chile is like a data center operator hub in South America.
That's correct.
And you can proudly say that. That's a fact. It's compared with Brazil, Argentina, you are leader.
Brazil is a market on its own. So I would say for the Spanish-speaking countries of South America, let's keep Brazil aside, compared to Argentina, Peru, Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay.
Right. And then talking about the earlier, you say about the amazing figure, the renewable energy, 63%. Is that put you as one of the most advanced country in South America in adapting renewable energy?
We are aiming for carbon neutrality before 2040. So it's amazing to see how this has actually developed. What we're missing now is transmission lines. So we're producing more energy on the north that we can actually transmit to the central part of Chile.
Yeah, there are maybe some Taiwanese, maybe there's electricity.
That's another point of a connection that we could also explore, and I believe it's being unexplored, which is energy storage. Taiwan is very strong in energy storage development, and Chile requires more energy storage to avoid the curtailment of this energy, green energy.
We love to. I have a client, Taiwan Cement, TCC. They are now the third largest cement company. They change their name to a holding. TCC, because they are no longer just cement. They are in the energy storage.
They bought NGEPS and they turned that into the energy storage branch of the company.
Yeah, they bought the company. They went into amazing countries in Turkey, in Portugal, even Africa. Very few companies in Taiwan has done that. This energy part is one area. Energy linked with a data center. This is something we really need to explore further. Could you remind me again? Perhaps you can send me that McKinsey report. You say McKinsey rank you number one as what?
No, the cheapest potential green hydrogen in the world. Cheapest. 1.5 kilos per...
Even compared with UAE,
with Saudi Arabia, Australia, all the...
Why is
all
that?
The clusters.
Why is that? Why you have such a huge competitive advantage?
Because we have excess green energy. And that's the main input for green hydrogen.
Yeah, because of the radiation.
Radiation in the north and wind in the south. So because the south of Chile produces also massive wind energy. And actually, most of the current ongoing developments and the biggest ones are in the far south of Chile, in the Magellan Strait, where you have wind currents crossing. We can produce onshore what the north of Europe can produce offshore in terms of productivity for our turbine.
I got to invite you, if you don't mind, to make a speech about talking about the advantages you have in renewable energy, your tremendous resources. I would love to explore that from energy storage, from AI data center, and from the power transmission. How can Taiwan with Chile?
I'd be happy to because I believe that, again, the relationship is suboptimal compared to the strengths that Taiwan has and the strengths that Chile has. And there are points of connections that are natural for both of us.
Right. I have to admit, even I've been in investment banking for 40 years, but how ignorant I am about Chile until today. Thank you.
Well, the same happens in Chile. I mean, there's lack of knowledge both ways, right? So Taiwan and South America, I don't want to make it exclusively about Chile, but South America in general. And from South America to Taiwan, there's lack of knowledge. And I think that if we bridge those gaps, the opportunities are going to come naturally.
Right. The only country that I know, renewable energy-wise, is Paraguay has a diplomatic relations with Taiwan. Paraguay, I forgot the renewable energy. Maybe that's some biomass or something. They have the forestry. These are some energy, and they're also related with carbon, the emission, carbon capture. So I know some banker trying to, I know the Taiwanese government also trying to do that. So the carbon, something to do with the Paraguay, and then to link with Taiwan. I think all of these are great ideas, and then we, from the private sector, need to do that. Because sometimes I know that we don't have formal diplomatic relations, but Taiwan also doesn't have diplomatic relations with most of the Southeast Asian countries. And still, I created a SIA Southeast Asia Impact Alliance, facilitating Taiwanese investment, connecting Taiwan with Southeast Asian countries. And we made huge progress. We made in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam in particular, and Philippines. So 5 countries, we made a lot of progress all through the private sector effort. You are the first South American diplomat. I love to do something in this regard. So are you working closely with the other South American embassies or representative office here?
We talk, but we don't have coordinated action. We meet, we discuss with the ones that do have an office here or embassy here. But honestly, we don't have a coordinated action.
Have you had, probably you do, invited this time to make a speech in Taipei to talk about your country, talk about your industry, to talk about your startup innovation in the past?
Mostly to universities, yes.
You got to connect with the industry because I'm the industry. I got all the industry connection and I got all the financial connections because university is fine, but these are academia. Very difficult to link university professor from there to an investment or to even a commercial trade cooperation. You got to talk with the industry.
But it's not been easy for us to get the message out there because the industry is expecting to hear about Japan, they're expecting to hear about Korea, US, of course, Canada, Europe. But South America, the expectation is not too high. So any help you can give us, it's more than welcome.
I have two ideas. One is about the agriculture. 这个智利的这个葡萄酒是很好的。他今天这个代表呢，给了我一个 very nice gift, the Chilean wine. So that is one area. And then another area is the renewable energy. I'm most fascinated about the prospect. And then from there, your renewable energy can link with AI, data center, green hydrogen. So I would like to, if I may, focus on those two subjects, the agriculture and then the renewable energy, to see how the Chile and Taiwan can work together. Because all my members, I have various organizations, associations. I think people will be interested to hear more because at least I'm interested. You successfully arose my interest in the area. So I wanted to cooperate with you. And then I also admire your devotion to Taiwan. You've been here for so long. So is there terms? Is this the beginning or the end of
It's a 5-year term, so I'm finishing at the end of next year.
Okay.
Yes. I have all of 2026 to continue this mission.
Okay.
And then I'm sure my predecessor will also follow up.
So I think it's we got to make you a track record in your tenure here. You achieve something. So beyond academic, because we met, for those of you who don't know, we met at the Christmas party of my ex-employer, W. Harper, the venture capital firm. I was vice chairman of W. Harper from 1998 to 2000. So I met Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Fernando, and I say, wow, Chile. We sit next to each other. So I'm a very honored to have the opportunity to interview you. I promise you that I will organize some event. I cannot guarantee the turnout, but I think a small turnout should be possible because I'm a member of several leading organizations, Taiwan Mergers, Acquisition and Private Equity Council, Monty J Technology Association, and then in both organizations, I chair the innovation and startup the committee. I would like to explore that idea further. And then we could do a small, it doesn't need to be huge. The key is focus, identify people who are really interested. So could be, say, a luncheon presentation. Luncheon is easier. We usually have 2 or 3 tables to make a presentation, whatever you give up. And it is important that there's a presentation, there's a map telling about this Chile, and then also the like the McKinsey report. All of those are very juicy detail because I'm a veteran investment banker. So my job is to find the selling points of any clients or countries. I found there are a lot of potential selling points for Chile.
Definitely. We just need to get them out there. I appreciate the chance of discussing, as I mentioned at the beginning, what people usually don't know about Chile. Because we tend to get stuck on what people already know, which is the copper, the agricultural products, the salmon, the seafood. That's great. I mean, and that's going to continue flowing into Taiwan. But I believe there's room for exploration on data centers on the way from Taiwan to Chile, green energy from Chile to Taiwan, and innovation which can go both ways. At the same time, Taiwanese startups, which is also a massive ecosystem, I read is the largest number of startups per capita in the world here in Taiwan. They're not looking at South America. It's a fertile ground. It's also an open ecosystem, particularly in Chile, from which to explore the rest of Latin America. So while we want to bring Chilean technology and startups to Taiwan, we also encourage Taiwanese startups to start looking at Chile.
Absolutely. We need to go beyond. And as I always said, the United States is not the only solution. Texas is not the only destination. There are better places. The world is so big. Let's look at elsewhere. Again, Fernando, thank you very much, so much for coming here to share with us the interesting story about Chile. I'm sure we will do something together to make a wider audience get to know your story deeper.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Chairman. It's my pleasure to be here and to share a little bit more about Chile. So really, really enjoyable conversation. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you. 谢谢大家今天的收看。今天我们很高兴，智利驻台的经贸的代表史密特先生跟我们分享他在台湾9年的时间，之前在政大念这个博士5年，然后他这一个任期他已经做了4年。其实智利跟台湾大家不了解，但刚才讲的说智利除了这些的农业啦、鲑鱼啦、酒啦这个以外，其实他们的这个能源最便宜的这个清洁的这个能源，那又跟很多的台湾的这些的这种AI 这个还有资料中心是可以结合起来。我们会再次办一个活动跟大家做交流。谢谢你们的收看 and thank you for coming to my show.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye now.
Bye bye.